Hello, hello. Good to see you guys. Happy Friday, everyone. The end of the week, guys, the Kickstarter our weekend. I hope you're all doing well. And we're back here for our Around the World trip. This is day number 55 of our Around the World trip. And today we're back here at Ketchikan Airport. And we got a very scenic flight coming up ahead to one of the most scenic areas in the United States. And I'm talking about the Inside Passage of Alaska. So we'll be flying all across Southeast Alaska today. So the major stops, port of calls during much of Alaska. We'll see everything from fjords to islands, glaciers, mountains, and much more here on this beautiful trip. So guys, thank you all so much for coming. Pleasure being here for this Around the World trip. So before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone in chat, hello to all the lurkers, and of course my trusty mods. But hello on and two. So here's what our little navnet plan for today's stream is going to be. So we're going to do in the Inside Passage of Alaska, we will be starting here at Ketchikan. After Ketchikan, Alaska, we'll fly to our first stop here in Wrangell. Right here at Papa Alpha Whiskey Golf. This is Wrangell, home to Petroglyph Beach State Historic Site. Then from there, we'll fly all the way across Tongass National Forest and make our way up to Baranof Island and, of course, visit the capital of Russian America, Sitka, which I'll be visiting here before. Then from there, we'll be going from Sitka over to Puna in the Chickenoff Island. We'll check out Puna Airport, Papa Alpha Oscar Hotel. And then finally from there, we'll make our stop to Alaska's state capital, Juneau. We'll make our way through downtown Juneau and land in Juneau International Airport, Papa Alpha Juliet, November. So we're going to have a really scenic flight here. So that is what we're going to be doing on today's stream. Of course, the plane we'll be taking this flight is the de Havilland DHC-2 Beaver, which honestly is like the perfect plane for a trip through Alaska. It's the perfect plane. It's made for these Alaskan bush trips. Very popular bush planes have been, and they've been developed in Canada during the 1950s, and they're still flying strong even today. And they're perfect for the trip we're going to be having here today. So let's go ahead and get her started. Thankfully, the Beaver is quite an easy plane to get up and going. So our heading, I'm going to set the 320 heading back. Yep. Oh, there we go. And I've already filled up to pretty much max. So guys, if you want to fly along with us, here's the route for today's flight. Actually, I can go ahead and put the route into. go. Okay. Put it in the map, and I think for the first leg, I'm gonna see if I can climb to 5,000 feet for the first leg. Um, the nice thing about the good old Beaver, this thing's a very capable stole plane. Hey, Gold Zone, good to see you, my dude. Hello, big bro. How are you handling yourself today? Happy Friday to you, Gold. We're gonna be going to the inside passages of Alaska today. Should be an absolutely stunning flight. Awesome. So we're checking out your beautiful Ketchikan, and okay, autopilot on, nav mode on. So here we go. We're gonna go and head and on the nav speed. We're gonna go to so right here it is Ketchikan. So we're just departed from Ketchikan, Alaska. The first stop of many people's Alaska cruises is here in Ketchikan. Beautiful Ketchikan. Our first stop will be in Wrangell. So we'll be heading to Wrangell, Alaska. It's about 71 nautical miles for the first leg. Yeah, I hope you're doing well, guys. So, if you guys aren't aware, this is the weekend, of course. So there isn't been too much flight sim news, but I think one of the big ones that is working on is Top Max 2 has released Whiteman Air Force Base, which is pretty cool. If I believe it's right, Whiteman is actually Whiteman Air Base is the home of the B-2, and that is, I believe, in real life. Oh, it's in Missouri. That's where the air base is. It's always interesting to see a new air base added. Like, it would be really cool. We have more military sceneries. I get the military bases are pretty secretive. It'd be cool to have more of old-fashioned sceneries. But in terms of other news, there really isn't too many other news to cover. I know Merce probably already covered it already. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Inside Passage. What makes the Inside Passage so special? So I know I talked briefly about it on Sunday, but I do want to cover more about the Inside Passage of Alaska here today. So more in depth, the Inside Passage is basically a coastal route for ships and boats along the network of passages across the North American fiordland. The route extends from southeast Alaska through to western British Columbia and to northwest Washington state. And ships often use this route can avoid some of the terrible weather in the open ocean, as well as visit some of the many isolated communities in the route. This is a very popular by a lot of cruise ships, freighters, tugs, tows, Christian craft, pleasure craft, and ships of the Alaska Marine Highway, BC ferries, and Washington State ferry system. Um, Now, this is a very important route, and I visited this route already twice, and it's one of my favorites to sail through. Just got great scenery all around, and it's just really enjoyable to sail around. Lots of fun doing that. So, what's exactly the route? Well, the route, the southernmost point is it starts in Olympia, which is just south of Seattle. So, once it goes through Olympia, it goes up through the Puget Sound past Seattle. And after you get through the Puget Sound, move north, it goes into Vancouver Island, and sometimes it goes into mainland in Vancouver Island, and it goes north to the Alaska Panhandle, which is southeast Alaska. Okay? And then you make your way up all the way to the northernmost points in Haines and Skagway. But if I want to make this a little easier for you guys, let me show you what I mean by the nav map. So here we go, guys. This is our nav map. So I'm going to go X out this out. So, okay, let's start here. Olympia. So let's look at airport. So it starts here, and we're going to make the end of the passage all the way up in Skagway. Here. So you basically the whole point of this is you go here. And then you go through many of the water and straits up till you make the Puget Sound. And once you go Puget Sound, you go through these straits here. And then you make your way up through all the way up here. The traditional route for the inside passage, if you're doing like normal shipping, you go all the way through here, get into Canada. Then of course you have this inside passage area through the Johnstone Strait. You go all the way through that strait here. And then you're making your way through up here. Sometimes ships go through this area here, and you make your way into southeast Alaska. Then from there, you just go through many of the different areas you want to go. Many of them go through past Juneau, and boom, make your way all the way up here. That's what's called the Inside Passage. There you go. That is how you get into the Inside Passage for a lot of people that aren't aware. But each of them had different portions of it. In fact, this was also used a lot during the Klondike Gold Rush, as it was one of the sea routes from Seattle and California, and they often went up there to the Yukon region of the Yukon, and they often went through the Inside Passage to avoid the worst of the weather. Today, around 36,000 recreation cruising boats actually use portions of the Inside Passage. Of course. So, very important stuff for the route. And tourism is a huge, huge deal in the Inside Passage. I've done this twice, actually, and the most popular way to do it is through cruise ships. There's actually many things you can do here in the Inside Passage parts of Alaska. From wildlife viewing, boating, fishing, kayaking, camping, and hiking. Also wildlife viewing, too. The main two ones you gotta look out for is whale watching is obviously one. Other is bear viewing. Yes, bears often live in these isolated parts of Alaska. So do not be surprised. And they mainly see either Wrangell or Admiralty Island. Of course, the most popular way to explore is the cruise ship, and I've done so twice. Well, get this, over 2 million people take cruises each year in this region, impacting the local economy significantly, and there are very few ship restrictions. in the Inside Passage. So all the mainline cruise ships offer passage itinerary. They include Norwegian, Disney, Princess, Celebrity, Cunard, and most. And most of them offer them either via Vancouver or Seattle. There's also smaller expedition cruises that take you into the much more remote parts. I would like to see too. So that is all about the Inside Passage for me. But the point is, I really do enjoy the Inside Passage stuff. Again, if you guys aren't aware, I've done this twice actually during my time in real life. I went to the Inside Passage twice. One, the first time was in 2022 with me and my brother. We went through as a family with me, my brother, sister, and her husband. We all took a family trip from Seattle up to Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway for 7 days. In Victoria, too. That was back in 2022, which was really enjoyable. And then the other one I did was just this past April and May, and we did a 14-day trip, which includes those three, plus Sitka, which is also in the passage, Puna, and Sitka are two other places in the Inside Passage as well. So we're visiting most of the in the Inside Passage, with the exception being Wrangell. Wrangell's the only city in the Inside Passage that I have not visited in real life. We will be flying there in the sim since I need to have an additional stop. Because I need an additional stop to get there as well. We really enjoyed both times. The scenery in this area, if you guys ever see my pics on the Discord, if you guys ever see my Discord pics, I have a lot of these pictures in that chat, and it's featured many of the scenery in this part of Alaska. It's gorgeous. Some of my favorites in real life. I wish it was better represented in the sim, but again, you can only do so much with the satellite data that Bing has. Only do so much. Hoping it looks better in 2024 when it comes out. But even with the lack of scenery stuff, I mean, just look at the state of this stuff. It is still gorgeous in Alaska. It's still absolutely gorgeous. Just gorgeous. So guys, what are you guys looking up to this weekend? Hope you guys have some really cool plans for this weekend. For me at least, my plans for this weekend, of course, is I gotta continue working on stuff for Fall 26. And of course, I got Sunday stream planned. So if you guys aren't aware, Sunday, after we make our way to Juneau, we'll be flying something a little quicker. And we'll fly over two absolutely gorgeous national parks. Glacier Bay and Wrangell, which, by the way, if you guys aren't aware, just a heads up, Wrangell St. Helens National Park is actually the largest national park in the country. It's no joke the size of Switzerland. Yes, I kid you not, it's as big as Switzerland. It's absolutely massive. We'll definitely be flying over them, and we will definitely learn about the national parks. going to go ahead and talk about fire. So guys, that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. But yeah, man, what a scenery day for flying here. Yeah, Southeast Alaska definitely is really, really cool. Is Southeast Alaska. It's often called the Alaska Panhandle. If you guys aren't aware about Southeast Alaska, one of the really cool things about the region is it's about 35,000 square miles, and there are lots of islands here. But the largest island is actually Chickadee Island, which is actually, no joke, the 5th largest island in the country. You have the Admiralty Island, Baranof Island, and more. Despite the fact there's about 71,000 people that live in Southeast Alaska, which is actually 10% of the population. And 45% of those live in the capital city of Juneau. Outside of that, the other towns and cities include Sitka, Ketchikan, Petersburg, and Wrangell. And there's a lot of protected areas, but one of those we'll be flying over today is the Tongass National Forest. The largest U.S. national forest in the country. And of course, it's very oceanic climate, so, and usually during the winter months, the average daytime high is above freezing. Pretty crazy to think about. In Southeast Alaska, it's home to all sorts of animals, like the brown bears, black bears, the Alexander Archipelago wolves, Sitka black-tailed deer, humpback whales, orcas, salmon, bald eagles, and more. Got surprisingly rich wildlife here as well for this part of the country. Of course, it has a rich industries with commercial fishing, tourism being the big two. Mining used to be historically much more important, but its big one's been tourist. Really cool stuff. Southeast Alaska, beautiful part of the United States, one of the prettiest regions of the country. Basically, it's the U.S.'s answer to the Norwegian fjords. That's basically what I think Southeast Alaska is. This is to the United States what Norway, the fjords are to Norway. This is our answer. Because it's very, very similar. So many ways. But I mean, the scenery today is absolutely stunning. The scenery here is just unbelievable. Ah, beautiful Southeast Alaska. Not get old. we'll be arriving to Wrangell pretty soon. So we'll be arriving at our first stop pretty soon, actually. But of course, one of the big parts about Southeast Alaska has been transportation, and one of the more interesting things about the transportation here in this part of Alaska is compared to many other regions, due to the rugged mountainous terrain, almost all communities have, except for those in Skagway, Haines, and Hyder, have no road connections outside of locale. So the two main forms of transportation are aircraft and boats. And the biggest for air transportation has been Alaska Airlines. They're the biggest, largest air carrier in the region, thanks to Juneau being its aerial hub for the southeast, as well as Ketchikan International as a secondary hub. But it's also been served by a lot of its own bush airlines, and air taxis serve many of the smaller, more isolated communities. And many of them are even accessible only by float plane. So oftentimes, you might get used to flying in floats through Southeast Alaska. The other is for maritime, which is run by the Alaska Marine Highway, which links Skagway, Haines, Hoonah, Juneau, Sitka, Petersburg, Wrangell, Ketchikan, and other communities with Prince Rupert, British Columbia, and Bellington, Washington. Which provides a lot of boat services and ferrying stuff to this part of Alaska. But this is why I think it's really interesting to do some stuff in this part of Alaska. So, just for a brief come up for you. So, of course, on our journey today, later today, my good friend Two-Toe Murphy's going to be streaming. So, I think he starts. Okay, he starts at 1900 today. But he's going to be in Iceland, which is going to be a really cool area in the world to fly to. Is Iceland. It's really pretty up there. Iceland has so much really cool stuff to fly over to. I've flown over Iceland a couple of times in the streams. The scenery's always really nice. Iceland's really pretty. So definitely check that out. Also, Allison Johnson's going to be back. Allison's also going to be back tomorrow as well, and she's got quite a long flight for her on tomorrow's stream. She's going to be for nearly 8 to 10 hours. Singapore to Palembang and then to Sarawak, which basically she's flying in Indonesia. Which is a really interesting place to fly around for sure. Kind of really underrated to do some flying in that part of the world. Here's the shout-outs for them. For my good friends. Both really good. Amazing people, amazing streamers, and content creators. They're both amazing. We're going to go ahead and talk about Wrangell, Alaska for a bit. So good old Wrangell, population 2,127. It was actually, its toilet name is Kashana Lake, which literally translates to Kashan's Little Lake, which is Kashana Aqua, which means Kashan's Little Lake. And the Tonga people lived in this area for centuries before any Europeans that came around. But Wrangell itself was founded in 1834 by the Russians, actually. Yes, the Russians founded this because a lot of people forget Alaska was once part of the Russian Empire. A lot of people kind of forget that sometimes. It was actually one of the oldest non-native settlements in the state. And they mainly did it, a lot of this was for fur trading. It then became part of the United States in 1867 when the Americans bought Alaska from the Russians in Sitka, which we will be visiting on our next destination. But it was mainly used for a lot of fur trading and all that. But one of the big things Wrangell is currently known for is fishing. as there's a whole commercial fishing fleet harbored in here as well as fish guidance services for tourists. So, fishing's been historically a big deal, mainly Chinook salmon. This is also a popular area for whale watching and all that stuff here too, as well as an elk and moose population at nearby Rainbow Island. So tourism has been a big deal, but it's not really as big as compared to, say, Juneau or Ketchikan is. Which is really cool, right? Also, Wrangell has no form of roads that lead to the outside world, sadly. They do have roads in the island around the area, but not anywhere else. So that's something else to keep in mind too. So Wrangell, definitely a very interesting place to check out. Of course, the main airport we will be visiting, our first stop here is at Wrangell Airport, Papa Alpha Whiskey Golf. This airport mainly serves the city of Wrangell, which previously has no road access to the outside world. It is considered to be primary commercial non-hub airport, one runway, which is about 6,000 feet. And it's mainly served by Alaska Airlines to Ketchikan and Petersburg, and they operate daily 737-700 passenger services to Ketchikan and Petersburg. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. And if you want to know why that's the case, Ketchikan and Petersburg, I know at first it still sounds like weird destinations. Well, you see, Alaska Airlines is one of the pioneers of something called the Milk Run. And that was their attempt to connect to many of the airports in Alaska. They mainly do all of this out of the Alaska of the Milk Run. I guess I should have covered this here too. Alaska Airlines use the Milk Run for their routes Southeast Alaska. So the Milk Run, they've been doing this sort of flying from here since the 1930s, when Alaska Airlines actually started way back. Is they did a lot of the milk runs, and that was what helped build Alaska Airlines in the first place. It's because, obviously, Southeast Alaska was very remote, so some people kind of forget that. That Southeast Alaska was remote. So. And basically, the milk run starts all the way in Seattle, and it goes up first to Ketchikan, which is something we all know. So it starts from there, goes to Ketchikan, then does a short flight over to Wrangell, and then probably one of the shortest commercial flights in the country is Wrangell to Petersburg. No joke, Wrangell to Petersburg is one of the shortest flights in the country. No joke, it is one of the shortest flights in the entire country. Oops, sorry if I didn't have to bust out your eardrums. Oops. But this flight, no joke, is a 30-minute flight. It is one of the shortest routes in the entire country. It is literally the shortest air hop in the country. Like 24 miles separate Wrangell and Petersburg. Yes, I know that's actually insane to think about. 24 miles, so you could literally take a short hop in a GA plane to here. But instead of that being a GA plane, you take this flight with the 737 up to Petersburg. I might even do a whole stream on it someday to talk about these short flights. So welcome guys to beautiful Wrangell. Absolutely stunning location here. Now I've never been to Wrangell. Wrangell would be the one place Southeast Alaska I would like to check out. Wrangell. Just gorgeous. So, welcome to beautiful Wrangell, Alaska. So we will park, and then I'll take a quick bottle break for just a minute, and we'll be. Oh, yeah, Southeast Alaska, in my honest opinion, probably one of the most stunning regions. There have been many of them. There are many probably stunning regions of the country. We've already flown over too. We've flown over, of course, the Grand Canyon in Sedona. We flew in that one earlier. We visited the 5 Utah national parks. Absolutely stunning. And then Grand Teton Yellowstone. But of all of those, this is the one part I've actually visited in real life. I visited here IRL. So, and obviously an airport like this is just made for these general aviation planes. Just park right here because I mean these planes do not need a lot of room to take off. I'll take a quick bottle break, really quick, and we will be right back. So we'll just leave this here for just a second, and we will be returning in just a second. Won't take long. Alright, I'm back just to take a really quick bob break. So we'll be heading to our next stop here in beautiful Sitka, Alaska, which I actually have plenty of pictures to show you from the trip I did earlier this year. So if you guys want to join on in, by the way, if you guys want to join on, you guys are more than welcome. This is a group flight, by the way, so you guys are all more than welcome to. We're in the ground here at Wrangell Airport in the DHC-2 Beaver, and if I recommend, it takes us around 130 to 145. I'll be trying to fly around 135 knots for the next leg. But this is just a really beautiful area of the United States. And this is one of those, this was one of the trips I was really looking forward to with the general aviation stuff, is this area right here. It does not get old flying this part of Alaska. So, you guys are more than welcome to join on, and if you don't want to join in, that's perfectly fine, too. Do whatever you feel is comfortable. Let's go ahead and get her prepared to get going. We're off. So, here are your guys. Next stop is Wrangell. Is not Wrangell, but actually Sitka. So we're going to be flying over Tongass National Forest. Now, of course, if you're wondering yourself, why does Alaska Airlines do this milk run? Well, the reason they're doing this is simple. Like I said earlier, Southeast Alaska is a very remote, very isolated community. And because they have no road access, there's only two ways you can get supplies and stuff. Either through boat, which might take a while, the boat's not really moving that fast, or like we covered mentioned, aviation, which is a lot quicker. So obviously, aviation's really important. And the whole milk run actually comes from a nickname to deliver vital supplies to the towns it serves. Many of them are relying on, so that's why they got called these operations the milk runs. But it is super cool though. The milk run in Alaska is super cool, and that's something I would like to do too. That sort of stuff. And obviously, Petersburg Wrangell is the shortest route in the entire country, 24 miles, and it takes 22 minutes for 24 miles. You could probably take this faster if you took a general aviation. Probably would, since you wouldn't have to worry about taking off, get to altitude, try to approach. But there are other really short U.S. flights. Second shortest is Cape Girardeau to Paducah, and it's the second shortest U.S. domestic flight. Then of course there's Allentown Airport to Philadelphia at 48 miles, San Francisco Santa Rosa 56 miles, and then you obviously have Milwaukee to Chicago. Pretty cool stuff. Now, of course, one of the really cool things about being a bush pilot here is aviation is actually a really big deal here in the state of Alaska. Per capita, there's over 9,100 active pilots in Alaska. And in fact, they have 6 times more pilots per capita than any other place in the country. And it makes sense considering just how dependent Alaska is with aviation. Because Alaska is very, very remote. And many of the communities in Alaska are very, very remote. When it's as large as it is in Alaska and how remote it is, aviation is just super important. Something to keep in mind. Now, of course, there are other really important places that bush pilots often operate. Outside of Southeast Alaska and all across Alaska, you can also see them in northern Canada, western Canada, and the Australian outback are other really important areas to access the bush pilots, and they often access those areas that are hard to reach and very remote. And it's got a history dating back even to the 1900s. Canada, mainly. Oh, whoops. Okay. I was out of fuel in that tank. Switching to the next one. So, but in terms of Alaska, the first bush pilot in Alaska was Carl Ben Ellison. He was a North Dakota farm boy who flew in World War I. After the war, he moved to Alaska as a mathematics teacher. However, he was persuaded to get a Curtiss Jenny to transport passengers to nearby settlements, and then later he did the airmail stuff. But bush planes are very important in Alaska, and there are lots of variety of bush planes that operate in Alaska. But the most common bush planes normally rely on a couple of necessary factors. Tundra tires, floats, and skis are very important to help handle the different terrain. For example, tundra tires are basically large, low-pressure tires to allow operations of rough terrain. Those are super important. Also, in addition, a lot of bush planes are typically high wing to ease loading and unloading the plane. Conventional landing gear is also a big one too, because with 2 large main wheels and a small rear wheel reduces weight and drag, which is good because sometimes you want to take off in short distances and make it faster, as well as reducing stress in the airframe and less critical failures. Obviously, short runway performance and low speed flight are also great to have too. And finally, there are piston engines because they're cheaper to build and maintain. But of course, there are some really great bush planes that you can pick, and there are tons of really good options. Of course, however, historically, the first major plane that a lot of people look at bush is, of course, the Piper J3 Cub, obviously. And there's a reason this is still very popular to this day, the good old J3 Cub. Still the most produced Piper, and they're perfect for they're perfect for the bush stuff too. They're perfect for it. They don't need a lot of runway to take off at all. You can handle any type of terrain. Small, they're cheap, they're easy to maintain, they're light. And then, okay, they may not be the fastest, but speed isn't really important when you're doing bush flying. But Piper Bush Club is still it's still a great pick. And it's got a long history with both civil and military aviation. Very popular bush plane. Of course, however, it later evolved into something else really great. Yes, sequel to it, the Super Cub, which is one of my favorite bush planes, the good old Piper Super Cub. Excellent bush plane. Over 10,000 of them have been built since production from 1949 to 1983, and then from 88 to 94. But the Piper Super Cub, such a versatile plane. This is the bush plane that inspired every other types of bush planes on the market. Looks like a Super Cub, and it makes sense. It's basically take a Piper Cub, give it a much more powerful engine, 150 horsepower engine, and it can take off at really short distances. It can take off within 500 feet, and it can fly up to 400 nautical miles. The good old Pipers. Excellent bush plane. I mean, they've stood the test of time. Put floats, 100 tires. You can put all sorts of modifications to it. Maybe you could even put a more powerful engine into this thing too. The Cubs, man, are super popular even to this day. There's also all sorts of other kinds of bush planes. The Quest Kodiak, of course, which we have in the sim from SimWorks Studios. That's a very successful turboprop bush plane. And who can forget the good old Twin Otter? A lot of people use it for airliner services, but it's a STOL plane. And the Twin Otter is a lifesaver to many communities across more remote regions. And as crazy as it seems, the Douglas DC-3 is also considered to be a bush plane. Because, well, many of them are still serving in more remote communities. The good old DC-3. That's why it's such a brilliant plane. The Rance S7. You have the Zenith STOL plane. Zenith's absolutely insane. And of course, who can forget the SUV of the skies, the Bloss Porter. So many really great bush planes. But yeah, bush flying's a huge deal in that state. Far more than most can realize. A big deal. I hope you guys are liking the information I provide today. I know I've worked hard to get this information. So of course, the area we're flying to now, if you look to our right, all of this is part of a national forest, Tongass National Forest. And a lot of people don't know this, but this is actually the largest national forest in the country, Tongass, which covers a whole 16.7 million acres. And it's basically all of it is mostly temperate rainforest. It's home to many species of endangered and rare flora and fauna. And it became a national forest in 1907. Historically, this area was a big deal for logging. However, that's often been highly debated and all that for decades. But this forest is actually home to all sorts of different plants and animals, some found elsewhere in North America. They include 5 different species of salmon, both brown and black bears, bald eagles all throughout the forest, wolves, mountain goats, ravens, thick black-tailed deer. Many migratory birds end up here, and of course, lots of marine species live around the shoreline. Mainly the world's largest dolphin, the orca, as well as humpback whales, sea lions, seals, sea otters, river otters, and porpoises. Lots of these animals live here as well, and a lot of people like to do recreation mainly to explore the forest and all that. But this is a beautiful area. I mean, gorgeous. Again, another reason why I like this part of Alaska. You know, wide variety series, forests, mountains, fjords, glaciers, all of that. So basically, if you guys, now I want to talk about the orca, which is very well known in the culture of Alaska for many indigenous cultures, particularly around this part of Alaska. But some interesting information about orcas. Yes, they may look like whales, but no, they're actually dolphins, the largest dolphin. And they are the apex predators of the seas. I mean, they are the apex predators. They eat a wide variety of diet, including fish, sharks, rays, marine mammals, and even eat other dolphins and whales too. And despite that, they are extremely social. And many of them are comprised of entire family groups, maternal family pods, with sophisticated hunting techniques and vocal behaviors. Because these animals are very smart. They're very, very intelligent animals. And I mean, they eat all sorts of stuff. In terms of fish species, they can eat fatty Chinook salmon, chum salmon. Sharks and rays are also important prey, like some of the smaller sharks. These are common in places like New Zealand. And in fact, in other parts of the world, they can even eat great white sharks. Yes, as crazy as it sounds. And there's a lot of competition between orcas and sharks, and many of them can actually cause white sharks to flee. And of course, in terms of mammals and birds, they can eat, of course, smaller dolphins and porpoises. They eat other larger whale species as a pod, can eat larger species like sperm and humpback whales. They eat lots of seal species like harbor seals, elephant seals, stellar sea lions, and horses. And of course, sometimes they do eat penguins and stuff too. They eat lots of different animal species. Well, they're very smart and intelligent. In fact, their brains are the second heaviest among all marine mammals after sperm whales. And they're very intelligent. So definitely very cool. And these orcas can actually live a very long time. Some can actually live up to mainly up to 65 to 80 years. But some researchers say they might have found someone as old as 105 years old, which is pretty crazy to think about. About these orcas. And a lot of native tribes in the Pacific Northwest feature orcas as art and considered to be the most powerful animals in the ocean. The funny thing is, though, orcas don't really attack humans in the wild. orca attacks actually come into captivity as well. So that's definitely something to consider about orca. All of this is part of Tongass National Forest. So I just want to give you guys some information about some of the animals and stuff. Because the orca is a big deal here in this part of Alaska, like whale watching and all that. Orcas are just a deal in the States. But yeah, orcas are really cool animals. They're definitely awesome to learn about. But really beautiful areas here in Alaska. I hope you guys are liking this. If you guys are enjoying this stream and you haven't followed the channel, smash that follow button and support the channel. We stream here 3 days a week here on Twitch, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So for today, this is one of our Friday streams. So of course we're doing the around the world trip. On Fridays and Sundays is our around the world flight, and of course on Wednesdays are all of our virtual airline streams. Be checking out virtual aviation here on the channel. So we'll be back for our Wednesday stream. I'm trying to think what I want to do for Wednesday's stream. I was thinking about doing some more flying. I was thinking about doing somewhere a little more differently. I was actually kind of thinking about doing some flying. I think it's. I don't know where I want to do my flying. I was thinking about doing some flying in Southeast Asia again. Maybe we return back to Bangkok and we do some flying. Either do some flying in Vietnam, or I was actually thinking about doing some stuff from. I was thinking about doing some stuff in. We do some flying out of the United States once again. I was thinking about doing some flying in Denver. I was thinking about continuing where we left off in Denver. We'll make our way first to Denver to Albuquerque, which should be a pretty nice flight, and then from there we'll probably go from ABQ over to Phoenix, probably. I thought that would be a pretty fun way to do a trip. Denver, Albuquerque, Phoenix. That would be what I wanted. So first we're going to be heading towards Sitka pretty soon. Let's see how much far we are to Sitka. Compass road. Okay, we're just about 50 nautical miles out of Sitka, so we're about halfway left to go on this leg. Over to Sitka. Now, of course, something else I do want to make a chat about. One of the other really unique animals that live in this part of Alaska is the brown bear. Now, of course, the brown bear, there are multiple species of brown bears that live around this region. There's a lot of subspecies. There is a lot of subspecies of the brown bear. Even within its own family, there are multiple subspecies. And there are tons of them. And there are multiple ones. But the main ones here in Alaska, by the way, there are two main North American, there are multiple subspecies. Of course, you guys probably know the Kodiak bear, the largest subspecies of brown bear. And they mainly live in the Kodiak Islands of Alaska. But the main one here in this part of North America, it is the grizzly bear. Is the North American brown bear. The grizzly bear is the one that lives up in this part of Alaska, is the grizzly bear. They're the ones that live in this part of North America. Now, one of the really big things about these brown bears is that the large population of these are the ones that live in the coast. They can weigh up to a whopping 800, males can go up to 850 pounds. And they're well known for, they live all the way, they used to previously range from Alaska all the way down to Mexico, far east, the western shores of Hudson Bay. However, nowadays, they're only limited to Alaska, south through much of West Canada, and into portions of northwest United States, and extends far south as Yellowstone and Grand Teton. Now, a lot of them is reduced due to hunting and damage to the environment. But one of the more unique things about the grizzlies is their diet. Despite being part of the order Carnivora, they're actually omnivores. They actually consist of both plants and animals. For example, in terms of predatory species, they can vary between moose, elk, caribou, deer, sometimes bison, and even other smaller black bear. Of course, grizzly bears we know often feed on fish like salmon, trout, and bass, which mainly in the coastal areas due to their more protein-rich diets. They sometimes eat birds and their eggs. And of course, in terms of plant species, a lot of them are berries, including blueberries, blackberries, salmonberries, cranberries, buffalo berries, and huckleberries, depending on the environment. And some can even eat insects like ladybugs, ants, and bees if they're available enough in large enough quantities. So they have a very, very diverse climate. But basically, the ones in coastal Canada and Alaska are larger than the ones in the Rockies because of the richness of their diet. And that's why if you ever live to the coast of Alaska, some can weigh up to 1,200 pounds. They're pretty big animals, too. They do have competition, mainly sometimes with wolves. But of course, grizzlies play a big role in the ecosystem as well. And of course, you guys all know grizzly bears have a rich interaction with humans, with many of them by Native American tribes fearing and respecting. And of course, bear watching over the last 20 years, bear watching has been very popular. That being said, you should still be careful around bears, of course. After all, for much of the area in North America, they are the top predator in North America, so be very careful around them. Because bear attacks can happen. So do be warned. But of course, we're going to be arriving into Sitka pretty soon. So we're gonna make our way up to Baranoff Island. Thinking we're gonna have to climb a bit. We can climb to say 500. Let's see if that's enough. Hold, and we're going to. So we're gonna climb up to 7,500 feet. Area here is just amazing. You know, the satellite data isn't great, but this scenery here is just marvelous. Here we are, 7,500 above Alaska wilderness. We're about to arrive in Sitka pretty shortly. So what's so special about Sitka, Alaska? Well, Sitka is actually, if you guys aren't aware, the capital of Russian Alaska. It was used to be a Russian city from 1799 to 1867. Population of 8,400 people, and it's actually the largest city by total area in the country, at a whopping 2,870 square miles of land and total area of around 4,800, which is insane. To put that in perspective, its total land area in square miles is actually crazy enough is over 4 times larger in land area than the city of Houston. Yes, Houston, which we all know is in real life the fourth the um the fourth or fifth largest city in the country. That's right. This is a larger land area than Houston, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Nashville, all big cities, and yet Sitka's land area is larger than the rest. As crazy as it sounds, huge. But Sitka was actually known. It was actually the first of the cities here from Russia, Alaska. And it was actually known as New Archangel. Um, it used to be called, and during the times of Russian America, um, it was mainly used a lot for fur trading. But then, in fact, after it was mainly used for fur trading in 1867, it was actually the site of the transfer of the Alaska Purchase. It was a big part of it as well. And as a result, Sitka was mainly used a lot during the Klondike Gold Rush, as many people trying to get there as well. And it was once the capital of that part of Alaska until 1906 when Juneau takes it. But currently, much of its economy ran on fishing and stuff, mainly lumbering and fish. Take a big part of Sitka's economy. Its port is also very important for seafood and fishing. And at one point during Russian rule, it was a very busy seaport. And a lot of people use Sitka as a major seaport. And a big part has been tourism in recent years has been tourism. Of course, Alaska Day is often celebrated a lot in Sitka, including a reenactment ceremony, interpretive programs in parks, aircraft displays, film showings, and more during Alaska Day. And of course, there are notable attractions here in the city, including the Alaska Raptor Center, the Baranof Castle Hill, which I visited Baranof Castle, really cool castle. Got to see a lot of Sitka. The Russian Bishop's House, and of course St. Michael's Russian Orthodox Cathedral, which unfortunately I couldn't get inside of it, but very, very cool stuff. And it's been featured multiple times in pop culture as well. So beautiful, beautiful place. And of course, we're visiting Sitka Rocky Gutierrez Airport. Papa Alpha Sierra, India. This is Sitka's main airport. It was actually named after its former mayor, Rocky Gutierrez, featured a single terminal with air service operated by American Alaska Airlines, and seasonal flights with Delta. This single paved runway is located on a causeway that puts off Japonski Island, and it mainly features flights to Juneau, Ketchikan, Seattle, Petersburg, Wrangell, and Petersburg. Mainly, Alaska Airlines operates 737-700, 800, and even 900 jetliner year-round. So pretty cool stuff here in beautiful Sitka. So I do want to show you briefly about some of my pictures of Sitka I took. So here, I still have pictures of my day at Sitka. You guys want to check them out? Actually, further down. There. There you go. So let's go over our picks here in Sitka before we get there. So this was when we entered the ship. So we took some pictures of Sika. So we got to see one of the volcanoes around here. This volcano particularly, it is Mount Edgecombe is the volcano, and we got to see it from our cruise ship. There's Mount Edgecombe, the volcano. But this is an absolute gorgeous area, and we came. This might have been the nicest single day of the entire cruise. Temperature was nice, and we got to explore the historic city. But look at some of these pictures, guys. This is just breathtakingly great scene. Absolutely marvelous. So we got amazing scenery here. We took pictures walking down. Here's our ship. Carnival Spirit is where we did get to Sika. Got some amazing pics. But yeah, I took a lot of pictures because Sika is just really pretty. And it might have been one of my favorite of all the new places we visited here in Alaska. It's my favorite. And you could just walk all across downtown. It's all of it's walkable. You see some absolute gorgeous scenes. Pictures. It's just incredible scene. So, there's some pictures. Some of these are just in. Now, here's some of the different churches and stuff here. Here's pictures of churches here in Sika. And this is the park here. This is one of the main attractions here in the city. This is actually Sika Historical Park. National Historical Park is here in Sika. I get to see some of the famous totem poles. But absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this was one of my favorite shots. Look at that. And of course, there's some floatplane stuff. You can take floatplanes up through the old Jackson Museum. And of course, there's the bishop's home. This is the bishop's house here. Didn't get a chance to visit inside. And there is the Orthodox Church here, the Russian Orthodox Church. Of course, I had to grab me some Russian-themed gear here because obviously this is part of Alaska's heritage. It used to be part of Russia. And then, of course, we went up to Baranov Castle, which is just a short walk. And you get some absolutely great views of it. So, yeah, you get some absolutely incredible shots. Just this, I mean, this is why I love Southeast Alaska so much. So yeah, we'll be making our descent down over to guys, we officially made it over to Sitka. So we just went through the mountain range up here. After this, we got two more quick stops to make. First over to Tuna, and then of course our last one to the capital city of Juneau, Alaska. Here's Sitka for you guys. Beautiful city of Sitka. One of Alaska's most beautiful destinations. Here's Sitka. Welcome to beautiful Sitka. So, Sitka Rocket Gutierrez. This is also a very scenic land. If you ever take the airliners through here, I did. Sitka's pretty scenic on a clear day. Sitka's really nice on a clear day. Okay. So, guys, we officially made it to our next stop here in beautiful Sitka, Alaska. Sitka. So we're back at Rocky Gutierrez Airport. So we'll be stopping here for just a second if you guys want to join on in. You guys just do exclamation point info and exclamation point recommended. And finally, I did root. Might as well type in all of those if you guys are interested in checking them out. Yeah, we only have 2 more stops left to go. They're not super far either. One's to Puna. The other one's just a shorter flight over to Alaska's capital city of Juneau. So we're just going to wait here for a bit if anyone else wants to join on in. So let's go ahead and get ready for the next flight to Huna, or leg number 3 into Huna. Like, I guess it's about empty on the rear tank, so we're gonna go ahead and switch tanks, and of course we're gonna fly around, fly our way up to beautiful Huna. Got 2 more stops on this Alaska bush trip. Got, but guys, I really appreciate all of you guys being here today. PA operations. But yeah, we'll see. for beautiful Sitka. So, what is going to be our next stop? It's going to be on Shikoganov Island, which is the 5th largest island in the United States. So Shikoganov is actually the 5th largest island in the United States. And it's home to the highest population of bears per square mile than of any place on Earth. Of course, the only island bigger than this island is Prince of Wales Island, which is just in Alaska. Puerto Rico, Kodiak Island is the 2nd largest island, and then number 1 is the big island of Hawaii. So 5,000 feet would be good enough for this leg. I really am enjoying this trip, guys. I think this has been a lot of fun so far. Exploring the Southeast Alaska is gorgeous. Gorgeous scenery. And we're going to explore more of Alaska for the next 2 more streams in Alaska for General Aviation. Because Sunday is going to be over Glacier Bay and Wrangell. Next Friday is going to be Denali National Park in Anchorage. It's going to be the next one. Then, of course, then after that, then we'll be flying from Anchorage over to Adak Island in the Aleutian Islands. And of course, after that, we'll be flying to Japan, flying through to enter into Asia, our first Asian country of the trip, Japan. I know you guys will be very, very excited to finally get to Asia for once. So we cleared through most of North America. We still got to do the rest of Canada, Eastern Canada, and Eastern United States. But I'll save those for the end of the trip. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that for sure. Huna will be our next destination here. Stop. So Huna will be what we'll be ending up to next is Huna. So Huna, Alaska, um, is located in it's the only city in Chickasaw Island. Its population is 931,000. However, in the summertime, it gets well up to 1,300, depending on fishing, boating, hiking, and hunting conditions. Huna became its official spelling in 1901 with the establishment of its own post office, and it's the approximate pronunciation of its tongue name, Huna, which means lee of the north wind, which means protected from the north wind. Um, um, However, the modern day city and all that was built was started all the way back in the 1750s. But of course, it wasn't until 1880 when European people have started to build this area. Of course, this area was well known for the Discovery Channel TV show Alaska Bush People. Of course, Huna is often served, used to be known for packing, for fish packing and cannering back in the old day. Now, it's much more now well known for its, for tourism. Of course, the old cannery is actually now become a place known as Icy Strait Point, and that's for a lot of cruise ships like that sometimes come here too. And it's the only privately owned cruise destination in Alaska. Opened in 2004, and they often use the old packing company facility, transform it into a museum and restaurant. And I've actually been here too. And of course, we'll visiting Hoonah Airport will be our stop. So here is Hoonah Airport. It's mainly used by Alaska seaplanes to fly over to Juneau. But it's mainly used for general aviation and not primary commercial services. Only got a 3,000-foot runway, so this is perfect for, well, you know, the plane we have here currently with us. Of course, I got more pictures because I did have some pictures of the day in Icy Strait Point. Is where we've flown, so I got some more pictures. But that's quite a bit. Where? Ah, here it is. Ah, here it is. Ice Strait Point. So actually, what we did back in Ice Strait Point was we didn't really have any excursions planned from here, so we decided to walk a little bit around the area. We did try to walk to Hoonah, but we didn't end up doing the full thing. We ended up walking back to Ice Strait Point, but it was a nice, peaceful day, and the scenery was again really nice. It was actually a really nicely done port. Very peaceful, which honestly was. So this right here is the Ice Strait Point area. They got like little cruise port with tours. They got the vintage cannery. It's actually a pretty little port area. Really cool stuff. So here's the little gondolas you can take up and down through the port area. So you get onto the gondola, you can go to one side of the port to the other. You have the gondola system, or you can take the gondola from there and you go all the way to the top of the mountain. They got like a little trail, and you can just walk on the trails and stuff. So pretty cool stuff. Once we get through here, here's the statue of that orca, Icy Strait Point. And, oh yeah, we did get to see a bald eagle. There's a little bald eagle. Contrary to belief, it is not bald. It's because of the white feathers in its head. What gives the bald eagle that nickname. So please don't call them bald. I'll tell you that one. As an American. And then here's the old cannery, which is now turned into a whole museum and stuff. You get to learn about this facility's history for fish packing stuff. But it's super cool to explore that part of Alaska. So you get to see how unpleasant it was during for canning fish. You get to learn a little bit about that. Here's a picture of the cannery from a while back. It's just gorgeous. It's pretty. Again, for that Alaska trip, we lucked out on weather. No joke, the worst weather we had all trip was a little bit of rain and Seward. That's it. It's just a little bit of sprinkle in Seward and Valdez. That's it. That's the worst weather we had the entire cruise. That was the only time we actually had to worry about rain the entire trip, which is kind of funny considering, if you guys aren't aware, Southeast Alaska is very well known for having unpredictable weather. Yet we've had really great weather the entire trip. So there's like the walking trail you can take, and you can walk your way across it. That's just really cool. And of course, we were back on the ship. So that is a little bit of Ice Drake Point. We unfortunately didn't get to the town of Seward. Hmm. Yeah, the scenery here is just gorgeous. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This has been a lot of fun, and the area here today was well worth it. Save the Alaska bush plains. So once we land here in Huna, we'll prepare for the short leg over to Juneau. We'll fly. We'll actually not be on GPS. We'll be flying in the heading mode. And we'll actually circle around and make our way through Juneau into Juneau International. So that's Alaska's capital. Yeah, I'm looking at the Alaska destination site. So here's the Arctic region, Inside Passage, Interior, South Central, Southwest. Incredible view. We'll stop here very shortly. Like I said, the scenery in this part of Alaska is amazing. Again, I know the sim doesn't do it justice sometimes, but trust me, if you ever get the chance to look at pictures. In fact, I got real life pictures of Alaska to show you when we get to the Lake of Juneau. I actually went on a real glacier air tour. You get to see what Alaska's natural scenery looks like from the air in real life. Not in the sim, IRL. I got plenty of those to show you when we get to. Yeah, I really do enjoy my time here as well. So, also in other news as well for IRL. So I also got me. Apparently, my mom already booked me a new trip for August of 2025. Apparently, it is gonna. We're gonna head back to Canada next year in August. We're gonna be visiting some new destinations for that August 2025 Canada trip. Portland, Maine, St. John, New Brunswick, Saguenay, Quebec, and of course Quebec City. And we're gonna spend a couple days in Quebec actually. So we're gonna actually spend a couple days in Quebec, which is gonna be awesome because my dad's side comes from Quebec, and I'm hoping maybe you could see if we could try and find something to do in Montreal. Maybe find somewhere in Montreal to check out because I know Montreal is a beautiful city and it would be amazing to check out. It's a great city. That would be one of the Canadian cities I'm looking forward to visit. That would be a dream come true. Here's Huna. Okay, let's go ahead and autopilot. The airport's down here. Beautiful airport, though. Just stunning. Again, another amazing, beautiful airport in this state. Here we go, guys. Landing in Huna. Oh, thank you, Typhon, for banning the mod. Thank you. Making sure I was going to land here pretty much safely. Here's Huna's airport. Not a very smooth landing, but be better. Welcome to Huna. Oh, no. This is Huna, guys. Our second to last stop. We'll just take a quick break. Oh, I get the notes for Juneau set up. Beautiful Huna. That means we have one last leg left to go. This is going to be the shortest of all the legs into Juneau. Juneau's the state capital. You guys all probably know Juneau. Which is interesting considering more people live all the way up in Anchorage, and yet the state capital is in Juneau, which is very infamous for being a state capital that is very closed off from the rest of the country. So, pretty interesting stuff going on here. We'll just take a quick moment break. let's go ahead and get back for the last leg of the trip. One last leg left. Hmm. Here we go. Last leg of last leg. So guys, we're about to head over to Juneau. Juneau, Alaska is the capital of Alaska. Founded all the way back in 1881, but it didn't become capital until 1906. This city is actually the second largest municipality in the country, behind Sitka, of course. But the city itself, its area is actually larger than the U.S. states of Rhode Island or in Delaware. Larger than both. Um, it's nestled in the base of Mount Juneau. Population is around 32,000 people, making it Alaska's third most populous city after Anchorage and Fairbanks. And a lot of people visit this area for cruise ships daily. A lot of cruise ships make their way into Juneau, and it's actually named after a gold prospector, Joe Juneau from Quebec. And of course, it is unique among U.S. state capitals as there's no roads connecting the city to the rest of the state or even to the contiguous 48. The only other one's Honolulu. However, unlike Honolulu, it's far less accessible for air travel than it is to Honolulu. So Juneau became the capital of Alaska in 1911. And eventually was picked over Sitka. And there has still been attempts to try and move the capital to probably around the Anchorage area, but it's been vetoed many times. It's still a debate, even right now. But of course, Juneau has got great natural scenery, and it's got really cool areas. There are plenty of places worth visiting in Juneau, including Mendenhall Glacier, which I've been to in 2022. Beautiful area. You can do whale watching and all that. Tourism is a huge deal. Fishing's also big too. And the main airport we'll be visiting here in Juneau is, of course, Juneau International Airport, Papa Alpha Juliet November. This is the regional hub for all air travel in Southeast Alaska. From Bush Carriers to Alaska Airlines. Last year, Juneau in 2017 had about 108,000 people. So in 2020, 2022, 2023, it was around more like 700,000 people flew over out of Juneau in 2022, 2023. In terms of destinations, destinations include a lot: Anchorage, Ketchikan, Petersburg, Seattle, Sitka, Haines, Hoona, Skagway, Whitehorse, Petersburg are the main destinations. And historically, they used to operate planes such as the DC-4, the Connies, here, 727s, smart like Twin Otters and Grumman Gooses used to operate around the seaport plane base. I don't know what was the largest airline to ever operate in Juneau. I don't know what would be the largest airline to ever operate in Juneau. Don't remember. I guess the 737-300ER. That's like the largest plane. I think that might have been the largest plane. But Juno definitely has a really unique approach because, of course, it's surrounded by mountains. You need to be careful when approaching Juno. So you do need to be careful. Juno definitely isn't the easiest place to land, especially with an airliner. So let's go show over some of my pics of Juno from earlier this year. I know some of you guys have probably seen them already, but in case you haven't seen them, if you guys want to check them out on your own, here's the Discord link. Here's the page of my Discord. So that day it was a perfect clear day. Like there was not really a cloud in the sky, which is kind of weird in Alaska. Well enough. So we sailed our way to Juneau, and we had an entire day in Juneau. This is where our ship docked, right near downtown. It was absolutely gorgeous, and there's Mount Juneau right in the back. I mean, what a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous place. Do some exploring. So after we did this, I mean, just look at the scenery today. It was just. And mind you, the time of year we visited, there was still a bit of snow in the top of the peaks. So it was just absolutely just breathtaking. Just gorgeous. Of course, there's an Alaska Airlines combi plane making its way into Juneau Airport. This was actually where we did our excursion, and that's where the float planes were at. That's what we did on the day. So before we did the float planes, we explored downtown Juneau. And this was one of the places we ate after our airplane tour. We ate at the famous Red Dog Saloon. Pretty cool place with a rich history too. So we first explored some of the shops around the street. We did some around shops. Then we checked out downtown Juneau. And then there's like downtown Juneau. And this is where we did our route for our flight team tour. So we had some amazing pictures, and this was the plane I took on. This is a DHC-3 turbo offer. Oops, not showing. That was the plane I was on. DHC-3 Turbo Otter. So there's the cockpit of the Turbo Otter, mixed between digital and analog stuff. And I was very lucky because I was offered to sit in the co-pilot seat. So I said, yes, if I'm going to do a once-in-a-lifetime experience, why would I not want to sit in the co-pilot seat? So there's yours truly with the bush cloud hat and everything. Probably should have worn the Wings aviation cap I had today. Crap, forgot to wear it on the street. But there was some amazing sightseeing in Alaska. Here's some of the pictures. I mean, how cool is that? You get to fly in. Of course, some of these pictures have reflections. And look at the sights of the glaciers. We did the 5 glaciers tour. Just absolutely incredible pictures. This shows you the real beauty of Alaska. It's absolutely insane sightseeing stuff. Just breathtaking. Breathtaking scenery all around. Like, this shows you the real beauty of Alaska. The 5 glacier thing just shows you the real beauty of the state, of this region. I mean, look at the glaciers, rocks and all that, too. Just marvelous. It was pretty expensive, but it was worth every penny. I even paid for a third of the cost to even do it for my parents. I paid a third of the cost. It was about $300 a person. I paid for a third of it. But to be fair, if we're going to do a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Alaska again, might as well do the... Of course, this was one of my favorite shots right here with me and the pilot. And of course, there's Juneau. There's some cruise ships here. For some of the first cruise ships of the season to enter Juneau. And this was downtown. There's downtown Juneau. Right here is downtown Juneau. But yeah, how cool is that, though? I mean, Alaska through the air is just incredible. But I had some great memories in this part of Alaska. That's why I wanted to do this GA flight with you guys. This is one of my favorite places to travel in the United States. Of course, we'll be arriving into Juneau International very shortly. We're actually going to go... the reason I didn't put GPS is because I decided that why do we not fly over downtown and approach beautiful street on the Juneau Harbor. We're going to turn the heading a little bit this way. Make our way down to beautiful Juneau. So guys, I really do enjoy this trip. If anyone else is flying along with us. I don't think anyone's flying with us. And oh yeah, guys, look to your left on your thing. There is Mendenhall Glacier. A lot of people visit Mendenhall. Including myself visit this as well. Beautiful Mendenhall. Oh. autopilot, and we'll make our way through Juneau. Look at that. Oh, look at that, guys. Look at the screenshots here. This is Jordan. And here's downtown Juneau. Juneau, Alaska, home, the Alaska state capital, Juneau. Here's the floatplane base, if you guys are interested. Here's Juneau. Juneau, Alaska. Um, and here's Juneau. Juneau, Alaska. There's always going to be an interesting approach into Juneau. And of course, most people, when they approach this airport in the airliners, they mainly do the LDA or RNAV approach to runway 8. However, Alaska Airlines is one of the only airlines that can actually do the approach to 26 through this. Of course, this is less of an issue for GA. Guys, that's it. Our final stop at Juneau International Airport. A beautiful airport nestled in southeast Alaska. Guys, thank you all so much for coming here to this trip. This was a stunning trip, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did. This area of the United States is among the prettiest in the country. So, guys, we'll go ahead and say hello and set up the raid. Take care, everyone, and I hope you all have an amazing start to your weekend. So, we're going to go raid our old friend, Oh Can Do. Guys, see you all soon on Sunday. Goodbye, everyone, and have a fantastic Friday.